Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The blade of the obsidian dagger didn't tremble, even though the hand holding it did, hovering mere inches from the jugular of the sleeping god, only to be stopped by a grip of iron that shattered the silence and the assassin's wrist in one fluid motion. I told you. A voice rumbled, deep and heavy with sleep, yet sharp with lethal intent, vibrating against the assassin's back. If you try to leave the bed, the shadows will eat you alive. If you try to kill me, I'll have to punish you. Which one is it tonight, little sparrow? Kalen gasped, the weapon clattering to the hardwood floor as he was yanked backward, his spine colliding with a wall of hard, warm muscle. He wasn't in a prison cell, nor was he in the squalid barracks of the recruits. He was in the center of the most dangerous place in the Citadel, the private quarters of High Commander Alaric Vane. And for reasons Kalen couldn't comprehend, the man he had been sent to kill, the man he had secretly worshipped from the grime of the lower districts for half a decade, was currently wrapping a possessive arm around his waist, pinning him to the silk sheets. Sleep, Alaric commanded, his breath ghosting over the sensitive skin of Kalen's ear. Or do I need to knock you out to ensure your safety? 3 weeks earlier, Kalen had been nothing more than a ghost in the machine of the rebellion. He was a Class C nullifier, a rare breed of magic user capable of dampening the magical frequencies of others. It made him the perfect spy and an even better assassin. The Resistance, a ragtag group of freedom fighters living in the subterranean slums beneath the floating citadel, had given him a simple directive: infiltrate the elite academy, get close to the High Commander, and end the tyranny that kept the lower world in eternal twilight. It should have been a suicide mission. Alaric Vane was not just a commander. He was the Void Walker, the only sorcerer in history to have stared into the abyssal gate and survived. He was cold, ruthless, and terrifyingly beautiful. He was also the man who, 5 years ago, had shielded a muddy, starving orphan from a rain of falling debris during the Great Collapse. Alaric didn't know Kalen existed, but Kalen had memorized the commander's silhouette etched against the burning sky. Getting into the academy had been the easy part. Kalen's forged credentials as a transfer student from the borderlands held up against scrutiny. He was assigned to Dormitory Block 4, a crumbling stone tower reserved for the lowest-ranking squires. It was perfect for a spy, invisible, blending into the mass of mediocrity. But the moment he swiped his keycard at the reception desk, the system flashed a violent crimson. The clerk, a bored-looking woman with mechanical ocular implants, stiffened. She looked at the screen, then at Kalen, her expression shifting from indifference to terrified awe. "There is a mistake," Kalen stammered, gripping the strap of his worn duffel bag. "I requested Block 4. Override code Alpha 0. The clerk whispered, her voice trembling. She handed him a new keycard. It was made of black glass, heavy and cold, pulsing with a faint violet light. "You have been reassigned, cadet." "Reassigned? Where?" "The Spire. The penthouse suite." She swallowed hard. "Commander Vane's personal quarters." Kalen's blood ran cold. He knows. That was the only explanation. The Resistance had been compromised. He was being summoned to the Lion's Den to be executed. But he couldn't run. Not with the security drones buzzing overhead. He had to play the part. The Spire was a monolith of black marble piercing the clouds. The elevator ride to the top took a full minute, long enough for Kalen to check the hidden ceramic knife in his boot 3 times. When the door slid open, he wasn't met with a torture chamber, but a sprawling, opulent living space bathed in the soft glow of mage lights. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the floating city and the wretched smog of the slums below. And there, standing by the fireplace with a glass of amber liquid in his hand, was Alaric Vane. He was taller than Kalen remembered, his broad shoulders stretching the fabric of his black military fatigues. His hair was the color of moonlight, stark against the military precision of his uniform, and his eyes. They were the violet of a dying star. "You're late," Alaric said. His voice was a low baritone that seemed to vibrate through the floorboards. The clerk." Kalen started, his throat dry. "Sir, there must be a misunderstanding. I'm a squire. I belong in the barracks." Alaric turned, his gaze sweeping over Kalen with a weight that felt physical. He didn't look like a man facing an assassin. He looked like a collector inspecting a rare, fragile artifact. The barracks are compromised, Alaric lied. The lie was smooth, delivered with the absolute authority of a man who decided what truth was. There are energy leaks in the lower sectors. Lethal to someone with your unique constitution. Kalen frowned. My constitution? I'm just a nullifier, sir. We're common. You are a nullifier with a fractured core, Alaric corrected, stepping closer. The scent of ozone and expensive sandalwood hit Kalen, making his head spin. If you sleep in the barracks, the ambient mana radiation will seep into your cracks and turn you into a bomb. You'd take out half the academy. Kalen blinked. That was actually plausible. He knew his core was unstable. It was why the resistance used him. He was expendable. But why would the High Commander care? So, I'm to stay here? Kalen asked, glancing around the massive living room. I can sleep on the couch. No, Alaric said, taking a sip of his drink. The shielding in this room is specific. It centers around the anchor point. The anchor point. Alaric gestured to the bedroom door, which stood slightly ajar, revealing a massive bed draped in midnight blue velvet. My bed. It is the only place in the Citadel with a grade 10 mana filter. For your safety, Cadet Vance, you will sleep there. Kalen's heart hammered against his ribs like a trapped bird. With you, sir? Alaric's lips curled into a faint, almost imperceptible smirk. Unless you prefer to detonate in your sleep. It is a matter of national security. Now, put your bag down. Dinner is in 10 minutes. The first night was an exercise in torture. The bed was enormous, easily capable of sleeping 4 people, but the dynamic of the room made it feel like a coffin. Kalen lay on the absolute edge of the mattress, stiff as a board, staring into the darkness. He was fully dressed, having refused the silk pajamas Alaric had offered. On the other side, a vast expanse of velvet between them, lay the High Commander. Alaric breathed with a steady, rhythmic deepness that suggested sleep, but Kalen knew better. The air in the room was thick with tension. Kalen's mission directive screamed in his mind. Asterisk, kill him. He's vulnerable. 1 strike. Asterisk. But his heart betrayed him. Lying this close to the object of his years-long obsession, Kalen felt a treacherous warmth spreading through his chest. He could feel the heat radiating from Alaric's body, a stark contrast to the cold dampness of the underground. Stop thinking so loud. Alaric's voice cut through the dark. Kalen jumped. Sir, your heart rate is erratic. You're analyzing the room. Searching for exits? Or searching for a weapon? I'm nervous, sir. It's not every day a squire sleeps next to the High Commander. There was a shifting of sheets. In the gloom, Kalen saw Alaric rise on one elbow. The violet eyes glowed faintly, a biological trait of the high-tier mages. You aren't a squire, Kalen, Alaric said softly. He didn't use the title cadet. And I'm not doing this for charity. Then why? Kalen whispered. Because the shadows are hungry. Before Kalen could ask what that meant, a screech echoed from outside the window, a sound not of this world. The glass rattled. A dark, amorphous shape pressed against the barrier, seeking entry. A void stalker. Monsters that hunted magical signatures. Alaric moved with blinding speed. He didn't reach for a weapon. He reached for Kalen. A heavy arm clamped around Kalen's waist, dragging him across the mattress until his back was pressed flush against Alaric's chest. Stay still, Alaric commanded. A pulse of violet energy erupted from Alaric, not an attack, but a shield, a dome of pure force that encompassed the bed. The void stalker screeched again, then recoiled, burned by the light, and fled into the night. They are drawn to your fractured core, Alaric murmured, his mouth dangerously close to Kalen's neck. You bleed mana like a wounded animal bleeds blood. My aura masks yours. If you leave this bed, they will find you. If you leave my side, you die. So I'm a prisoner? Kalen asked, his voice trembling, though not entirely from fear. The feeling of Alaric's hard chest against his back, the protective embrace, sparked a fire in his lower belly that had no business being there. You are an asset, Alaric corrected. But his hand, resting on Kalen's stomach, tightened slightly. And you are mine to protect. Now sleep. The weeks bled into a routine of high-stakes confusion. By day, Kalen attended classes, struggling to act the part of a mediocre student while Alaric watched him from the high balconies like a hawk. By night, the dynamic shifted. Every evening, Alaric invented a new reason why the safety radius had to be smaller. Asterisk, the atmospheric pressure is dropping. The Void Stalkers are bolder tonight. Move closer. Asterisk. Asterisk, your core temperature is fluctuating. It indicates a mana sickness onset. I need to stabilize you through contact. Asterisk. It was ridiculous. It was illogical. A grade 10 filter shouldn't require skin-to-skin contact. Kalen knew it was a lie. Alaric Vane, the Ice Prince of the Citadel, was lying to keep a lowborn spy in his arms. But why? The answer came in the form of a betrayal. It was the end of the third week. Kalen received a transmission from the Resistance. Asterisk, target is not eliminated. You are compromised. Abort and detonate. Asterisk, they weren't planning to extract him. They were planning to overload his core remotely, turning him into a biological nuke to take out the Spire. He had been a suicide bomber all along. Panic set in. Kalen sat on the edge of the massive bed, the comms device in his hand blinking red. He looked at Alaric, who was sleeping, truly sleeping this time. His face softened, looking younger than his 30 years. Kalen couldn't do it. He couldn't kill him, and he couldn't let himself kill the man who had protected him from the nightmares outside the glass. He had to leave. If he got far enough away, the explosion would only kill him. Kalen stood up, his legs shaking. He grabbed the obsidian dagger, not to kill Alaric, but to cut the tracking chip out of his own arm. He moved to the bathroom, but a wave of dizziness hit him. The activation sequence had started. His veins burned with violet fire. Going somewhere. The voice stopped him dead. Alaric was sitting up, the sheets pooling around his waist. His eyes were cold, devoid of the sleepiness Kalen had seen earlier. I have to go, Kalen gasped, clutching his burning arm. Alaric, please. You have to let me leave. I'm going to explode. Alaric didn't flinch. He stood up, stalking toward Kalen like a predator cornering its prey. I know. Kalen stumbled back. You know? You know what I am. I've known since the day you stepped into the city, Alaric said, closing the distance. I knew who sent you. I knew what you were carrying. Then why? Kalen cried, tears streaming down his face as the burning in his veins intensified. Why let me in? Why sleep next to a bomb? Because I can defuse it. Alaric grabbed Kalen's wrist, the one with the tracker. With a surge of magic that shook the room, he didn't cut the chip out. He crushed the signal with his own magical pressure. He overloaded the remote detonator from miles away. The burning in Kalen's veins stopped instantly, replaced by a cool, soothing rush of Alaric's energy. Kalen's knees buckled, but Alaric caught him, sweeping him up into a bridal carry. You stopped it, Kalen whispered, exhausted. You saved me. Again, Alaric carried him back to the bed, depositing him on the velvet. He climbed over him, caging Kalen in with his arms. The playful, aloof mask was gone. In its place was a raw, terrifying intensity. You think I kept you here for safety? Alaric hissed, his eyes searching Kalen's face. I kept you here because 5 years ago, I saw a boy in the mud with eyes full of defiance, and I have spent every day since looking for him. Kalen's breath hitched. You remembered? I never forgot, Alaric admitted. When I saw your name on the intake roster, I overrode the system. When I saw the bomb in your blood, I brought you here to stabilize it. My aura doesn't just repel monsters, Kalen. It feeds you. It heals the cracks the Resistance put in you. Alaric lowered his head, his forehead resting against Kalen's. I didn't let you sleep in my bed for your safety. I did it for mine. Because if you aren't within my reach, the silence is too loud. The realization crashed over Kalen. The most powerful man in the world was lonely, and he was obsessed. They will try again, Kalen whispered, reaching up to touch the sharp line of Alaric's jaw. The Resistance. The Council. They won't stop. Let them come, Alaric growled, turning his face to kiss Kalen's palm. Let them try to take what is mine. I burned the lower world once to save the city. I will burn the city to save you. Alaric shifted, his weight settling comfortably over Kalen, the heavy friction sending sparks through Kalen's nerves. Now, Alaric said, his voice dropping to a seductive purr. The sun is rising, but we aren't done. The safety protocol requires absolute synchronization of our energies. Do you understand? Kalen looked up into the violet eyes of the man he had come to kill, the man who had become his savior, his jailer, and his lover. He wrapped his arms around Alaric's neck, pulling him down. "I think I need a demonstration, Commander." Alaric smiled, a genuine, predatory smile that promised ruin and ecstasy in equal measure. "As you wish." And that is how the viper tamed the wolf. If you enjoyed seeing Alaric take absolute control, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a husband who tried to kill you? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then, prompt image. Prompt, masterpiece, best quality, high-res, 1.2. Korean manhwa style, semi-realistic, digital art. 2 men, BL, Yaoi, Man 1. Commander Alaric, silver hair, piercing violet eyes, sharp jawline, muscular build, wearing black unbuttoned military shirt, dominant expression, looking down. Man 2. Kalen, messy dark hair, slender but toned, wearing loose silk shirt slipping off shoulder, lying on back on dark blue velvet sheets. Expression of flushed surrender, looking up, background is a high-tech luxurious bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking a futuristic city at night. Mage lights, dramatic shadows, glowing magical runes in the air, intimate atmosphere, cinematic lighting, sharp focus, intricate details.